Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rise. We're back at my home turf at my favorite filming location because guess what? We have that one new Toyota that's making quite a splash in the crossover SUV segment. Is this vehicle right here. This is a 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. Ours is the top limited trim and it's in that great color called Storm Cloud. But before we dive into this hyper-miling hybrid all-wheel drive crossover SUV, let's talk about what's going on here. So Toyota, doubling down on the Crown name. Once upon a time, many eons ago, the Toyota Crown was available here in the United States back in the 1950s. That came to an end, but in other parts of the world, especially in Japan, the Crown name stood the test of time. Now, in Japan, they already have a full lineup of Crown vehicles, and Crown is meant to be that kind of little higher notch of premium luxury within the Toyota nameplate, even though they have a sister brand known as Lexus, which is their premium brand around the world. With this Crown Signia, some really unique style, but I think you're also going to find that when it comes to MPGs, it's pretty freaking mind-blowing. So what I want to find out is, do you go Crown Signia, something all new, untested, or do you go with a sister version, which would be the Lexus RX, or the other one to think about in this price point that has a major redesign is the Nissan Murano. So let's go ahead, let's dive into our Crown Signia and see if we can find out. Right off the bat, it's crazy. A lot of people are calling this a wagon. This is not a wagon whatsoever. This is a crossover SUV that just happens to be a little bit lower. I wouldn't call this a wagon. I think a lot of people are sort of stretching that term quite a bit. At the front of the business, I really think that Toyota is onto this modern, sporty look on their new upcoming vehicles. So just like in the Toyota Prius, which got a redesign, love the way they're working that daytime running lamp, very angular, very sharp, very thin and crisp. Working our way down, we do have a projector beam LED headlight, little bit of gloss black, and then you'll notice we flow into a larger gloss black front splitter. Now, this lower section, if you notice, it doesn't do anything. It's just gloss black, but the good news is it's just smooth. They didn't try to make it look like a vent, so that's why I don't have to zonk it. And then the rest would be that storm cloud color, which sort of reminds me of the clouds up in the sky right now because it's a little bit of an overcast. But like I said, I think it's a very modern, sporty, classy look without going too crazy, sort of like a Hyundai. Hyundai, I feel, has gone way past that classiness with some of their angular designs. Now, as we come across the front grille area, very, very unique. So you're gonna have functionality up top in this small gloss black raised area. And then sort of like what you would find on a Lexus, you have the grille within the body. Really cool how you have the functionality. We do have a forward-facing camera, and then they take the design and kind of make it evaporate as you go down lower to another section of gloss black that is also fully functional. And we have this lower splitter, which helps give it that sporty look and also is going to help with airflow to kind of get that extra long range out of it. But comparing this to the front of the new Murano or an RX, like I said, I'm actually quite digging this, even though I do like the look of the new Murano. But let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this Crown Signia, the front end. Now, as we rise up, just like the Prius, it's got this long sloping nose, and I just love the way they do these drops, sharp drops into the rest of the hood and then into the front fender. Gives it, like I said, a modern look, but it's super clean. It's not too over the top. Now, as we come around the bend, because we have the top trim, you're gonna get these top dog wheels. V-spoke design wheel, this titanium metallic gunmetal gray finish, on our wheel. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what is the size of our wheel? You're basically looking at 21-inch wheel. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I was right. I shouldn't doubt myself. 21-inch wheel. Tires are 235 on the width, 45 series sidewall. And like I said, these wheels are specific to the top limited trim. When you go top trim, you are going to get the gloss black around the fender openings. Not my favorite. I guess it's better than flat black, but I would prefer to have it just be all body color. Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section. And then of course we're going to have specially tuned suspension, all four corners, and this does have standard all-wheel drive with that electric motor out back. And we'll talk more about the motors when we pop the hood. But one of the things I want to point out is look at how they got this part. I mean, the way that front corner extends out really gives it a nice sharp edge. And I think styling wise, like I said, they really check the boxes off on this one. Coming down the side, you're gonna have gloss black on your mirror caps, LED turn signals. Where they I wish they would have went a little different direction, at least on this particular one, is give me black roof rails and dark chrome rather than the shiny, bright metalwork. But I guess it does add a pop of color to the roof and to the center belt line. Up top, we do have a panoramic sunroof, which is nice. And another part of the design, I love how far this extends out. The door panels have a nice flare as you get towards the rear. Really, really nicely done. Color matched on the door handles, and then finishing it off with a little bit of gloss black on that lower side skirt extension there. But everything, like I said, has been shaped to maximize airflow. Now, as we come towards the rear, you got a good sized quarter window. I like the way that they don't take the metal work all the way around the window frames. And even the way that they did this strip of gloss black to separate the roof from the rear quarter panel and pillar. Like I said, it just blends nicely into what's going on the tail end of the business. Now, when we get to the tail end of the business, super duper thin on our taillights, but very bright, all LED. Of course, we got our HEV. What the heck does that mean? Hybrid electric vehicle with our all-wheel drive. The Crown name coming all the way across. And then, of course, you got to let people know that you went top trim, the limited trim, so you got your limited badge. Like I said, it's one of those things that I wish that they would have went a little bit darker on these finishes. They kind of went a little dark on the Crown name and the Toyota badge. And I know many of you are thinking that you wish that they had the Crown badge, the actual Crown, rather than the Toyota badge, just to make it a little bit more special. But as we work our way down, a lot of gloss black on the lower rear bumper, and then you do have your reverse lights super clean on the back, and then nothing dangling down, help with that airflow. I guess the other thing that I would like to see is that wiper be hidden underneath that long roof spoiler. I don't know why they keep it exposed like that. It'd really clean up the back of this vehicle. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and talk MPGs of this HEV. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. Underneath the hood is that tried and true power plant. What are we looking at? It's a 2.5 liter inline four with 3 electric motors, 2 on the engine, 1 out back. It's going to give us a total 240 horsepower. Now, what's interesting is Toyota decided to go the older technology route with the battery. We got a nickel metal hydride battery rather than a lithium ion. Those are more reliable, but obviously not as efficient. We have a direct drive transmission, 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. Top speed is governed to 118 miles an hour. The vehicle weighs 4,700 pounds. MPGs, here's the kicker. In the city, you got 39 MPGs, and on the highway, 37. So when you're comparing this to a Lexus RX, or definitely the Nissan Murano, you are getting maximum MPGs. Now remember, the Murano is not available as a hybrid yet. If you want a little bit more oomph, a little bit more kick in the pants when you go on throttle, the Murano may be your choice because it's got a turbocharged inline 4 paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission. But for this, you can't touch, just like MC Hammer, you can't touch this, you can't touch the MPGs on this Crown Signia. But why don't we go ahead, let's turn it on, and see it roll. All right, guys, we're inside this 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. And like I said at the start of this video, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Joe, this is a wagon. This is not a wagon. Most crossover SUVs, yeah, if you stretch the definition of what a wagon is, they're just gonna be glorified wagons. But they're not a wagon. It's like any other crossover SUV. It just sits a little bit lower. That's all. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I want something new. I want something fresh. I saw your review of the Nissan Murano, and boy, oh boy, it looks super fresh, ripe, and ready to eat. But I'm also considering this Crown Signia because I do drive a lot, so MPGs do mean something to me. But how much is this Crown Signia? Very good question. This being a limited trim with the tech pack and all the other goodies, you're looking at an MSRP right at $52,000. That literally puts it mano a mano with the price of the Murano. You could probably squeak by with a lower trim of a Lexus RX at 52 grand. But let's see if you should go to Burger King and get yourself one of those Crowns, because you might go with this Crown Signia. To the door panels. I love the two-tone material. The tan is like a Babe Ruth special right out of his glove shade of color. You got soft touch up top. No gloss black. If you look around the switchgear for the windows and the door locks, that's actually metallic gray. Hides fingerprints very well. Little pop of copper. And then you have soft on the armrest, that tan looking great with the stitching. And then down below, the door pocket is decent. You could get yourself a Checkers Big Buford, a large Checker Fry, and Lori's favorite, an extra large strawberry milkshake. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, there's more of that pop of color with the copper. And we have the JBL multi-speaker sound system. I'm digging how they did the two-tone by bringing some up to the top and most of it down below. Nice curve to everything. Speaking of curve and slide right into our infotainment system. It's a 12.3 inch. It's got that familiar Toyota multimedia software. Obviously, your whole map system. I'm going to throw it into reverse. Cameras are very, very clear. Probably some of the best that Toyota has to offer. And with the trajectory and your 360, so you don't scrape up those beautiful 21-inch wheels. And then, of course, you hit the little car icon. If you have a phobia about actual buttons and switches, you could adjust everything here all on the screen. And then even things like your heated seats and ventilated seats, 3 apiece. And a heated steering wheel. 2 stages, a heated steering wheel. Now, one of the things with this being a hybrid is you could actually show off to all your friends and show them how the hybrid system works. There's our nickel metal hydride battery pack, and we have 3 motors. One is with the engine, and then there's the other 2. That's the one on the rear axle that gives us all-wheel drive. And then one last thing that I know Lori really, really wanted me to show you because of she's always into customizing things for herself, is vehicle customize. And then what we're going to do is we're going to scroll to custom drive mode. So besides the standard drive modes, you could set up a preference for the different modes when it comes to powertrain, steering, and even air conditioning. And I know I like that, living in Florida, being able to go with high performance air conditioning. Working your way down, we got our power on button because this is a hybrid vehicle. We have our real buttons and knobs, and I'm so glad that they gave us the ventilated seats and heated seats with actual push button. Nice simple toggle switches with a digital display. You got wireless charging, more of that nice metallic gray finish. It really does a good job. Like I said, if you're eating KFC, it will hide all the KFC greasy fingerprints all over the place. You got 2 USB-Cs, a little cup holder for 2 boxes of Tic Tacs. This is going to control your direct drive transmission, and it's got a little bit more of that copper finish. There's our drive mode selector switch. I'll show you more of that when you come to the business side of things. 2 cup holders, and what's weird is one is a standard, basically round cup holder. This one is perfect for a juice box or a Capri Sun. I used to love Capri Suns. Love them. More of that Babe Ruth special coming back to the center armrest. What's great is I could open it for me, but what's even better is I could open it up for Lori. You have a nice little coin tray here. If you're going to different countries and collecting coins, you can put them here. And then you have more felt lining and a USB-C. So basically, you could put 2 Game Boys and about 20 Game Boy cartridges in this center console. And I prefer the Game Boy black and white. I know there's a Game Boy color. The black and white just has a better feel to it, old school. And then the material, the leather style seats, the piping, the stitching, full electric assist for the passenger, full electric assist for the driver. We do have, like I showed you outside, that power shade for our panoramic sunroof. Goes all the way back, but I'm not gonna have it go all the way back because we don't have all day here. And then we have our digital rear view mirror. So if you're trying to stalk somebody, you could actually sit in this Crown and watch them, the Crown Signia, and watch them right through your digital rear view mirror. That's how clear that is. But why don't you come over here to the business side? I want to show where you're going to stalk that digital gauge cluster as you drive the Crown Signia. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have 2 memory seat settings for the driver's seat, so you can let a friend, if you're lucky enough to have a friend, let them borrow your Crown Signia, because remember, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Down below, the sill plate. I like the way it's got the Toyota name, the Crown name. It illuminates with the aluminum finish. And then you do have all your switch gear easy to get to. You can operate it with your index finger or your middle finger, which is kind of cool, depending on what you're doing with that. And then the interior. I like the way it's arranged. It's not meant to be this really big, spacious vehicle. It's meant to wrap around you a little bit. And I think they hit the nail on the head. Seat quality is so comfy without feeling like a beanbag chair. And guess what? You don't have to worry about somebody hitting you in your beanbag. The other great news is that you have the leather on the steering wheel, the baseball stitching all the way around, flat black on most of the switch gear. You do have paddles for simulated gears. And it is a manual. I'm surprised it's a manual tilting and telescoping wheel. I would have expected an electric. But I promised you 12 inches. I'm giving you 12.3 inches of digital gauge cluster. And then watch this. It's like a freaking video game when you go through the different modes: eco, normal, sport. And then there's that custom mode, which you could set up your custom preferences. The other thing that this is lacking, and it's really a big surprise, no head-up display. Which is kind of crazy because it has me scratching my head on why they wouldn't give you a head-up display in a Crown Signia. Crown. I mean, it's supposed to be a Crown. It's supposed to be the next step. But why don't we go ahead? The next step with us, let's get to the back seat and see what kind of fun you could have back there in this Crown Signia. All right, guys, back seat time. The good news is that even with this being a hybrid, you got plenty of room back here. The bad news is that if you have teenagers living in your household that are actually your kids, and you're taking one of them out on a date with their boyfriend or girlfriend, there's a little too much room back here for some hanky-panky. So if I were you, I would shut off that digital rearview mirror and have the rearview mirror pointed back here so that you could keep dibs on what's going on, so there's no funny business. But what's good is that they actually have two-tone on the back of the seat, and I'm glad that they did that because the darker material will stay cleaner for a longer period of time. You could have all of your pamphlets and booklets back here in the back pocket area, or you could put a 1-pound bag of Twizzlers, either books or Twizzlers. I'm going with the Twizzlers. Slide on in, you got rear AC vents with a little bit of that copper trim, and then your 2 USB-Cs. Plenty of room. I'm really impressed with how much room there is. The one thing I would have liked to have seen is you do have heated seats, but there's no ventilated seats and a top limited trim. That's a bummer. And then, of course, the armrest. Ooh, nice and soft. 2 cup holders. And then Lori's going to show off where your button is for your heated seat. And it's only a 1 stage. It's not a twofer, and it's definitely not a 3-fer. Just a 1 stage heated seat. So either your buns are toasty or your buns are cold. One or the other. But let's get to that cargo area and see what type of honey buns we could squeeze in this Crown Signia. All right, guys, we have that cargo area open. It is an electric automatic lifting cargo liftback. What are you going to be greeted to? Quite a usable amount of space. You're looking at, believe it or not, 25 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold the seats down, it's going to give you 65 cubic feet of space. And what I love is that we have handles here to make that task super duper easy. 1, 2, 3, contact, boom. Goes ahead and just flops on down, nice and flat. And then you do have extensions. So watch this. Lori's gonna stay there. Watch this. You could actually extend this area forward. So if you have a shorter driver, what we could do is actually move the seat forward. And if you have that really large, long object, you actually now have more cargo space. Or it's nice to have a blocker, because sometimes you go to the store and you got some lumber or something. You don't want it to hit you in the back of your head if you have to get on the brakes real hard. You'll have that little blocker to protect your cabeza so that you don't go loco after getting hit in the head with a 2x4. But you know what? I'm not gonna hit you with a 2x4, but I wanna hit you with some on throttle. So why don't we go ahead, let's get inside this Crown Signia and go for a little spin. All right, guys, we're inside behind the wheel of this 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the drive mode selector switch and put us into sport mode. That's gonna adjust how the throttle sensitivity is and steering sensitivity is with the hybrid power plant and all of the other functions. Now, pulling away, it has a very, very smooth hybrid setup to it. And what's interesting is that we're gonna go from a dead stop here in a couple seconds, and we'll be able to test out and see what this all-wheel drive is about in this vehicle. But quite interesting to see this vehicle come standard with all-wheel drive. But if you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. So the all-wheel drive does a great job getting the power to the ground. One of the downsides to this particular all-wheel drive system is that it does have that electric motor out back. So in a very slippery situation, it's gonna act a lot like an on-off switch, because there is no mechanical drive shaft connecting the front with the power going to the rear. Just something to be aware of, but it is a very efficient system if you want MPGs. I mean, to have an all-wheel drive vehicle and get 39 MPGs in the city, the Nissan Murano just can't touch that. It's in the 20s, where this is 39, almost 40 MPGs in the city. I do love the way everything is laid on the dash, easy to get to that 12.3-inch infotainment system, and the digital gauge cluster is probably one of the best in the biz, just because the graphics are so clear, the information is laid out very, very smartly. Changing lanes is a piece of cake because we have the updated Toyota Sensing 3.0 Plus safety system. So it goes without saying that you have lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, emergency brake assist, all those different things are now just standard, which is gonna keep a lot of people obviously very safe compared to vehicles in the past. That dual climate control is easy to get to. And really the appointments on the inside, yes, there's some hard plastics, but where you're touching feels fantastic. And the seats are really, really superb. I mean, not just for comfort, but also for support. Cruising down the highway, you're not getting too much wind noise, and you're definitely not getting too much road noise. Even with the 21-inch wheels and tires, we got that nice digital rear view mirror to keep everything clear when it comes to the view out back. And for the back seat, you're definitely maximizing on that space, even with this being a hybrid. One of the things that's not my favorite is you don't have simulated gears when you go on throttle, so you are going to get that loud inline 4 drone, and I'll show you right here. On throttle. See how the RPMs just stay up? it's just not a very like feel good feeling when you just hear the 2.5 liter doing its thing. Would be nice to have some simulated gears in there, but if you want maximum MPGs, going with this direct drive transmission really makes it happen very, very easily. And that's why they choose the direct drive transmission. If you want a non-direct drive transmission, then you gotta go Murano, because they got rid of the CVT and now you have a 9-speed automatic. But it's one of those vehicles that, listen, you're gonna be behind the seat for a while if you're on a road trip, just because you're not gonna have to stop for fuel very often. And the way that they appointed the interior is really, really nicely done. I just wish there was just a little bit more of some specialness when it comes to the inside. But the actual driving, it's smooth, it's comfortable. Is it the most engaging? Of course not. But if you use it for the task that it's intended for, then it winds up just making you feel really, really good, especially when you're saving money from those places, the gas station. But everything, just like I said, very, very well laid out in here, and it's just a joy to drive just because it is so smooth. All right, guys, pulling away from the line, I'm gonna go ahead, and I know everybody doesn't like to drive in sport. I'll put it back into normal mode. And like I said, what that's gonna do is it's gonna soften up the steering and the throttle sensitivity, and you could definitely feel it. There's quite a bit of easiness to the steering rather than when you're in sport mode. And then if you're really needing a hyper mile, you go into that eco mode and you could really feel the difference. It's crazy how just by keeping your foot on the throttle and going through the modes, you actually could feel the change if you keep a steady foot on the throttle by going through the different modes. But I think that the Crown Signia is a great size. It falls into that sort of two-row mid-size segment. And, you know, if the Murano ever came out with a hybrid, I think that the Murano would be tougher competition. But if you want the MPGs, this is the way to get them, by going with the Crown Signia. But I hope that this has been a good overall review of this new Crown Signia, especially the limited trim. We're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a Signia second. All right, guys. It may not be the sunniest of Florida days, but it's been a very good day with this Crown Signia. Definitely want to thank the whole team over at Toyota for getting us access to this press fleet vehicle. Let me know what you think. Are you impressed with what the Crown Signia is bringing to the table, especially when it comes to the interior and the MPGs that it produces? Or are you going to take your money and maybe get that Nissan Murano now that it's all redesigned? Or you'll say the hell with it and get yourself a Lexus RX. Let me know your thoughts in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raise Rides family. She's back. She's better than ever. Got to give it up to LGR. Lori Givens-Rady working that camera like the champion that she is. Thank you, Lori, for being such an awesome person and just a hard worker. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.